Shalom everyone, I'm Dr. Erez Soref and I have here with me Dr. Golan Broshi. Shalom Golan. And this is another episode of Jewish misconceptions about the New Testament. And these are misconceptions that many Jewish people have regarding the New Testament and Jesus. And, Golan and I had them, and we talked about it in the previous episode. And we want to talk about it with you because you may have Jewish friends, neighbors, co-workers that maybe think about some of those things. Mm-hmm. And the fact of the matter is, even sometimes Christians have some of those misconceptions. So bear with us, and we hope that this will be an encouragement and a blessing to you.
Amen. And by the way, one of the best ways to confront these misconceptions is to give Jews to read the New Testament, because once we read it, we see how Jewish it is.
And I will tell a personal story. The first time I was given a physical copy of the New Testament, first time I've ever seen one in my life, I had it in my bag for 2 weeks, and I would look at it every morning, but I wouldn't open it until I realized that I had a prejudice. No one ever told me, don't read the New Testament. I found out that I had it in my heart. I didn't even know it existed.
And most of the misconceptions that Jewish people have about the New Testament is because they never read the New Testament.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and when I did, I have to say, when I did read the New Testament, I was shocked. I loved it, honestly. Amen. All right, well, let's jump on 3 misconceptions. The first one is Jews don't believe in Jesus.
So it is true that maybe most Jews today in the world, there's 14 million Jewish people, maybe most do not believe, but there's a growing number of believers. And we have to remind our viewers that all the believers, all the first believers were Jewish people, were Jews.
Absolutely. And in fact, there's a rabbi who's a history professor, or was, at Pepperdine University, and he came across the phenomenon of Jewish followers of Jesus. And he was just, he was just really curious. So he researched the phenomenon in historical tools, and his research, he summed it up in a book called Messianic Judaism. Mm. And in that book, he shows an historical way, research, that throughout church history, there have always been Jewish people that proclaimed faith in Jesus of Nazareth.
By the way, I don't know about you, but before my wife and I went to a Messianic congregation, I thought I was the only Jew alive that believes in Yeshua.
Of course, that's very common. So, there's definitely a growing number of Jewish people that are followers of Yeshua, that do believe in Yeshua today.
And it's important to say that Jewish people always believed in Yeshua, especially in the first century.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. All right, second one. Jesus converted to Christianity. He was a Jew, but then he became a Christian. And therefore, you're either a Jew or a Christian. You have to choose. You can't be both.
And it's sad to say that, it's said, maybe our viewers wouldn't believe us, but most Jewish people in Israel still believe this misconception. That, of course, Yeshua was Jewish, but he converted. On the cross, he converted. Again, nothing can be further than the truth. If Yeshua is indeed the Messiah, why does he need to convert to anything? And if we're talking about conversion, when the New Testament is talking about conversion, it's converting from our sins.
That's right.
Not converting to a different party or a different religion. Is converting from our sins.
Now, let's talk about definitions. So a Jewish person...
What is Jewish?
Yeah, well, in the most simple biblical sense, a Jew is a descendant of Jacob and his 12 sons.
Exactly.
Biological descendant. Okay. Now, Christian, comes to the word Christ, which is the Greek for the Hebrew Messiah. Mm-hmm. So someone who is a Christian or a follower of the Messiah is anyone who believes in the Messiah.
Exactly. So this is a really good point, because most Jews still in Israel believe that if you believe in a different faith, like Christianity, like Messianic Judaism, if you believe in Yeshua, you are no longer Jewish, because what history did with Rabbinic Judaism and Christianity, they mixed the religion with ethnicity. So because of that bond, now Jewish people think that if you embrace a different religion, how can you be Jewish?
And I think that kind of from personal experience, I know for me and probably for you, when I started reading the New Testament, I felt that this was the most Jewish book that I've ever read. When I became a follower, when I became a disciple of Yeshua, I knew that, for the first time in my life, the fact that I'm Jewish made sense. It wasn't just
Exactly.
a genetic occurrence, but it actually had a purpose, had a meaning.
Now, this misconception in Hebrew, it sounds even worse because Christian in Hebrew, it's a different word.
Yeah.
It's a word that is derived from the city that Yeshua grew up in, Nazareth.
Yeah.
So it's, the misconception is so deep because I'm telling people, what do you mean I'm a Nazarene? I was born in Nazareth. I lived in Nazareth. What does it have to do? What does the place of birth has to do with your ethnicity? It has nothing to do with that. And I tell them that Yeshua is the only one who is called a Nazarene or a Christian, but in Hebrew it's a different word because he grew up in Nazareth.
Yeah, right.
And that's why he's called a Nazarene.
Right. Well, okay, let's go to the third question. Paul the Apostle converted and established Christianity.
And this is sad because even Jewish people that would accept that, Yeshua is Jewish, Yeshua never founded any religion, they would blame Paul.
Right.
Paul is now the bad guy that's founded the Christian theology.
Yeah.
Paul eliminated the Torah, abolished the Torah. Paul is the bad guy. Paul is the evil guy.
Yeah. Jesus never meant it, but Paul did.
Yeah. Just yesterday, a religious person in the park told me, well, in Christianity, you abolish the Torah. You don't keep any commandments. You do whatever you want. Because you have Christ, you have Yeshua, you can do whatever you want. And I told him, Erez, only if you never read the New Testament, you can say that. You can say that.
We know that Paul came from what we would call today a religious background, Pharisaic background. He was the disciple of a very, very famous, well-known Rabbi Gamaliel. And he testifies that when he converted, repented of his sins and became a follower of Yeshua, he did not deviate from the same gospel that Yeshua and the rest of the apostles taught.
By the way, Paul is calling himself a Pharisee in the present tense, still, even though he's a believer.
That's right.
A Pharisee. And in the last chapter in Acts, the Jews in Rome are coming to him, and he's telling them, you heard that I never broke any of the traditions of the fathers or Judaism. And they say, Paul, we never heard that you did anything like that. So even they admit that it was misconception that Paul abolished the Torah or never kept the tradition. He was a Jewish man that lived, Erez, like us. We still keep most of the tradition because we live in Israel, because we live among the Jewish people, and we're Jewish ourselves. So we keep most of the tradition. But to say that Paul converted, again, this is such a common misconception, but nothing is further from the truth.
Well, thank you, Golan. And everyone, we hope this is encouraging for you, particularly as you share the Messiah with your friends, with your neighbors, with Jewish people that you know, and they may have some of those misconceptions, and I think that can be very, very helpful for you as you share with your friends. So we hope that's encouragement for you. Thank you, and we'll see you in the next episode. Shalom.